So now I turn to demonstrating how we do the step 1A analysis. We're going to take a look at the output very briefly. Much of it is covered in Webtalk 6. And we're going to focus on the plotting. And again, the analysis step numbers refer to table 1 in the paper with the inputs given in supplementary material. And actually that material shows more inputs than we discuss here in Webtalk 7. So let's take a look at the Mplus output for this run. So we have cross-classified analysis. So we have two cluster variables, ID and time, and we specify type equals cross-classified. And we have a within part of the model, a between ID part of the model, and a between time part of the model. And the first thing you want to look at is to see if Mplus has given you any warnings that you want to pay attention to. Here is about the data set containing missing on all variables. So you want to go back into your data to understand why that is happening. And then you take a look at the summary of analysis to see that the total number of observations is right, the number of dependent variables, independent variables is right, and also looking at the summary of data here. 219 clusters, meaning 219 individuals. And then we have clusters with different sizes, 6 meaning that this person, 238, was observed at 6 different time points. And we see here then that the total number of time points observed for anyone is 56. And most people, the typical value is a low 50 number of time points observed. But one thing I would want to look at pretty much right away is what's at the bottom here, namely the technical 8 output. Because if that's not all right, the results may be meaningless. So you want to look at the potential scale reduction factor here, PSR. And you want it to go down towards 1 and you want it to stay close to 1 for a long sequence of iterations. Quite often it happens that the PSR value goes down towards 1 for several iterations, but then bounces up again, and you may prematurely stop after too few iterations. So you want to keep going so you have a long sequence of PSR values close to 1. So let's take a look at the output here. You have 5 parameters and the model results are given here for the within level and the between levels. So within level we have an auto regression between PA and PA at the previous time point. It's an autocorrelation, same as the regression or correlation coefficient, and you have a residual variance. So that's a moderate autocorrelation. Between time level variance here, 0.01, and then between ID, where you have the variance and also the mean, 5.687, which we'll keep an eye on as we go forward. And I also look at standardized model results, STD-YX standardization. There's not much to look at in this case because we don't have any covariates. But at least you see then you get an R square here at the end for the within level where you regress PA onto itself. So the R square is 0.138. Now let's take a look at plots. So we go to view plots and we select a plot to view here. We're going to focus on time series plots. And here you see the variables that come up, PA and B2A PA. B2A PA being the between time component of the model, the time specific factor values. So you have then a choice between the mean and the median in the posterior distribution for those factor values. And I'm going to choose the mean here most often. But let's take a look at the PA first. You see that you can show them for each subject, but also means over subjects like this. Okay. And you know then that we can add a timeline to mark the different days of the week, 8 hours per day, and we get this plot. Let's take a look at another plot in the time series category. Let's take a look at B2A, where it looks like this, and you have a mean line added here. That's while using this option, you get that mean line. So you have values below and above the 0 value for the between time component, that latent variable. Now you may want to add a variable. Let's say that we want to add in the sample values of PA to show in the same plot. And you get this message, which shows that you're mixing level 1 and level 2 variables. B2A is a level 2 variable only, whereas PA is on both levels, and we're choosing the average here. And you see then that you have a plot where you have the two outcomes on two different scales here. So what you want to do instead is to go back and take a look at the B2A with an offset value, and there comes the value that we looked at before, 5.687, and we put that in, and in that picture we can add the variable of PA, and here we go. There we have it, so that we can see how close they are over the different days. And if you've noticed, in this plot here, we have the colors reversed relative to the graph on slide 8. On slide 8 we had the B2A in blue, whereas here it is in the red curves. So let me take that as a motivation for showing some editing features. So we go down, right click, and go to the edit plot, and we see then colors here, and for B2A we have red, and we wanted to change it to blue. And at the same time, let's also make the width of these lines a little bit thicker, and have 3 here, and do this similar thing for PA, which is blue, but we want it to be red, in line with the graph on slide 8. And then again, let's make it a little thicker, and let's say OK to that. And you see the thickness is better, and may show up better if you put it into a paper, for instance. Now up here in the legend, you see that the lines have also gotten thicker, and you can actually edit this legend as well. You can double click on this, and you get a menu showing up, where you have many different options, but we're going to focus on the font. And you see then that we have size 12. How about if we try size 16 instead? And you see that the legend box is bigger. You can also click on the legend box, and you see these broken lines and the little black squares here, where you can actually pull and extend the legend box. Same thing for this one in the middle here. Extend it like that, and then click to get it to be cleaned up. So those are some of the editing features you can use.